Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We welcome you all once again to this session of Bhagavad Gita. I would like to start the session by praying my humble obeisances to all the senior Vaishnavas who are present here and seeking your blessings so that I am able to do the seva in a nice way. I am doing it as a service to all our acharyas and for the pleasure of Sri Radharani and Krishna. My heartfelt thanks to Ashish Prabhuji and the entire ICF team for giving me the second chance. So this week we have been doing the chapter 15, isn't it? So this chapter is entitled Purushottama Yoga, or the Yoga of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yoga here means that which connects us with the Supreme Lord. Okay, so would anyone like to summarize what we have seen in this chapter for the last 3 days? For a few seconds, just a summary. Krishnamurti Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I am not well versed in English. You know,
okay,
so I am Kannada. Kannada we know well, but we can't express in English.
Okay, Prabhuji, no problem. So I will do a short summary because this today what we are going to do is we are not going to read through the complete purports because the last 3 purports, we are doing 5 slokas today. These are the concluding slokas for this chapter 15th. So in the last 3 slokas, the purports are very huge because the need of understanding of the slokas is also very important. So we will not go through each and every word of the purport. So I request all of you to kindly go home and read through Srila Prabhupada's purports, which are very, very nicely explained. So I have marked down some of the important points here, with which I will be giving an explanation. So in order to understand the last 5 slokas of this concluding this chapter, we need to know what this chapter is dealing with. Okay, so this is a very important chapter and a very precise chapter in which Krishna is telling us the importance of being united with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We all know that we are souls and Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, and he is present in each one of us as the Supreme Soul. This we discussed even in the last class, isn't it? So we'll be going through each and every sloka and then the translation, and during the purport I will be explaining the purport in short form. So in this chapter, Krishna is explaining to us step by step that whatever we see in this earth comes from me. To understand the same, we need deep knowledge. And how do we get that deep knowledge? Can we get it by speculation? No. Can we get it by going to different people who call themselves as sadhus? They are so-called sadhus, who do not know the art of self-realization, and they're very commercial. So here Krishna says, please do not get into any of the ways of wrongly understanding me. Approach a spiritual master in a disciplinic succession, that is in any place where we want to get scriptural knowledge, what is to understand our self-realization and understand who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only a spiritual master will be able to guide us nicely. So to explain this, he is also explaining to us that we are conditioned souls in this world. Okay, so we'll start from the 16th sloka. I'll read the sloka once, and then one of you can read it, and then again translation, one of the Matajis or Prabhujis can read, and then we can go ahead with the explanation. Dvavimau purushau loke shara shakshara evacha shara sarvani bhutani utastokshara uchyate. Does anyone want to repeat? Yes, Sindhu Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Bol. Srila
Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna.
ki jai. Text 60. Dva imau purushau loke sharashakshara evacha shara sarvani bhutani bhutastokshara uchyate.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Bol.
Does anybody else want to read the translation? Yes, Mataji, you can go ahead.
Yes, Mataji. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible.
Thank you, Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, in this sloka, what is being explained is that there are two classes of beings. Okay, so one is the fallible one, and the other is infallible. The fallible means, the meaning of the word fallible is one who tends to do mistakes or may be wrong. So we are all conditioned souls in this world. So we are having a change in our body perspective from every time to time, and we are related to matter. So thereby, because of various situations and our changes in the body, and we are in this world of Maya, which is illusion. So in these circumstances, we tend to make mistakes. And the infallible souls are those who are raised and the liberated souls. They do not make any mistakes. So here, Krishna explains to us that only when we understand that we are fallible and we need to raise above our material existence, and we need to realize that we are a soul. And then only slowly, when we are devoid of such mistakes that we tend to commit in this material world, do we attain Him. This is explained in this sloka. And here it also says that if you see in the previous slokas, in the 7th sloka, he says that once you understand that everything here is fallible in comparison to the spiritual world, where everything is infallible, and you, that is we as the people, we are the living entities, we are eternal fragmental parts of the Supreme Lord. So we all need to go back to the spiritual world, to Him. He further explains the characteristics of the eternal world in sloka 6. So in 7, if you see, in the 7th sloka, Krishna says, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha, Mana Shashtanindriyani, Prakrtisthani Karshati. The living entities in this conditional world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which include the mind. And in the 6th sloka, it says, Na tad bhasayate suryo, na shanko na pavakaha, yat vatva na nivarthante, tad damam paramam mama. So in the 7th sloka, he explains to us that we are indeed a fragment part of Him. So we need to get back to Him. And when we get back to Him, what happens? He says that supreme abode where we need to get back of mind is not illuminated by the sun or the moon, nor by fire or electricity. And those who reach it never returns to this material world. So how do we understand that we are fallible and we need to become infallible? We need to raise as a soul. We need to do devotional service, and then we go back to Godhead. And when we go back to Godhead, that spiritual world is full of eternal bliss, does not have any suffering. And jivas there are not, they don't tend to make any mistakes. And life is completely eternal there. It doesn't change. There is no death and there is no rebirth. So explaining various, various ingredients of each of this requirement, Krishna is taking us through this chapter and telling us what is the Purushottama Yoga. That is the yoga of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, so it is the yoga of Supreme Personality of Godhead because Krishna is the Supreme Personality and He is the infallible one, and He is above the fallible and the infallible soul, which we'll be seeing in the upcoming slokas. He also explains further that I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the life air to digest all the foodstuff in the previous slokas. In text 15, he says, I am in everyone's heart. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. By all Vedas, I am to be known indeed. And I am the compiler of Vedanta. and the knower of the Vedas. So in each and every sloka, till now, till the 15th sloka, Krishna is explaining to us that we are infallible, we are conditioned souls, we are in this Maya, in this illusionary world. Why? Because we turned away from Krishna. We started lording over to the material nature. And so Krishna provided this world so that we can enjoy and keep ourselves happy. But still, he is waiting within each one of us as the Paramatma or the Supreme Soul, wanting to pull us back. And he wants us to know this knowledge that we are not this body, but we are this eternal soul, and we need to come back to Godhead through each of these slokas here by saying that you are my eternal fragment, that you are here where the sun rises and the moon comes up in the night, and you need to go to a place, an eternal world where there is no sun or moon. Everything is always knowledge and completely bright, and you are living here only because I am there with you, within you as a Supreme Soul. Whether you want to digest food, whether you want to go about any activities, whether you want to acquire knowledge, or in the process you forget things. So the knowledge is through me. If you have some remembrance of that knowledge, that is also me, he says. He says, if you're forgetting something, that forgetfulness also comes to you through me only. And he says, to attain this knowledge, you don't need to go through the various Puranas or Vedas. Just reading the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam through the disciplined session under a spiritual master will alone give you the essence of all the Vedas. Okay. Shall we go to the next sloka? Is it clear?
Yes, Mataji.
In the 17th sloka, it says, Uttama Purushastvanya Paramod Metyu Dakrita Yo Loka Trayamavishya Bibhartyavya Ishwara. Does anybody want to read? Pramila Mataji? Please unmute. Sudha Mataji? Yes, please continue.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Uttama Purushas Tvanyah Paramatme Udaratah Yo Lokatrayamavishya Bibhartyavyaya Ishwarah. Mataji, translation and purport also?
Only translation you can read, Mataji.
Okay.
Purport
Okay.
we will discuss.
Yeah. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, in the 16th sloka, as we saw, he divided the living entities into two classes, the fallible one and the infallible one. The fallible one being the conditioned souls, and the infallible one who have raised above the conditioning of this world and are trying to acquire supreme knowledge. In this sloka, he is saying, besides these two, there is this greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. So who is this? This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Himself, within all of us as the Paramatma. And this is quoted in Kathopanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. So here it says that the Supreme Soul is imperishable and it is above the fallible ones and the infallible ones. He has entered the three worlds and he is to know Him. Then only we will be a perfect soul and we'll get peace. So how do we know the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It says, above the innumerable living entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated, there is Supreme Personality who is Paramatma. The Upanishad verse runs as follows, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both conditioned and liberated, there is one Supreme Living Personality, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who maintains them and gives them all the facility of enjoyment according to different work. So he is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. A wise man who can understand Him is eligible to attain perfect peace, not others. So who would be a wise man here? Only one who approaches a spiritual master and in the disciplic succession tries to know about the truth which is explained in the scriptures. So shall we go to the next sloka? Sloka 18. Yasmat sharam atitoham aksharat api chotamaha atosmi loke vedhecha pratita purushotamaha. Who wants to recite? Now,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Recite.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yasma sharamati toham aksharadapi chotamaha atosmi loke decha pratita purushotamaha.
You can read the translation, Mataji.
Yeah, okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So in this sloka, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna and all of us through Arjuna that no one can surpass him, whether it is the conditioned soul or the liberated soul, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we should not be fooled by any personalities or any people who called the so-called gurus who say that, we are also just like God, Aham Brahmasmi. All those theories are completely nullified here in this purport by Srila Prabhupada, who tries to explain what Krishna is saying, that it is clear that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals, but Krishna is Vibhu and we are Anu. So whether we are the conditioned souls or the infallible souls, the first level of entities, living entities, will be the conditioned souls who are yet to realize the self and the soul in complete this one, and the next step will be the infallible souls who are closer to realization, self-realization, and above all this at great heights is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because he is transcendental, he is the greatest, and because he is the greatest, he is celebrated in the world as well as in the scriptures. So in the world means at present, and in the scriptures means the scriptures have been there in this world for so many years, 1,000 years. From so many yugas, these scriptures have been in existence. Though from time to time we have lost them and all, but Krishna comes again and again, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, to establish the truth and bring back the actual knowledge in the form of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and understanding this truth, it will help us to understand the self as well as do devotional service to Krishna. Shall we go to the next sloka?
Shall I read, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, 1 minute. I'll just say it once, so we can repeat. Yo mamevama sammudo janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Yo
Krishna.
mameva masam mudho janati purushottamam sa sarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Translation.
Translation also, yes, sir.
Translation by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Whoever knows me as Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the owner of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotion service to me, O son of Bharata. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So in this sloka, if we read the word-to-word meanings, it will be very clear. Yah, anyone who, mam, me, evam, thus, as sammudha, without a doubt, janati, knows, purushottamam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sa, he, sarvavit, the knower of everything, bhajati, renders devotional service, mam, unto me, sarva bhavena, in all respects, Bharata, O son of Bharata. So in this sloka, Krishna is saying that whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. So there are 2-3 aspects here. First, we need to understand that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we need to understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not any light or any effulgence, but an individual whom we can worship, and that is Krishna. Third aspect is we should not have any doubts about this, because when we start doubting, then the factor of speculation also comes in. And when speculation comes in, then our knowledge is completely dispelled. We are not able to understand the true knowledge. So whenever we are studying scriptures, we should study them without doubt under a spiritual master in the disciplinic succession in order to help us know things the way they are. So he says, Krishna says, it's very simple. If you know me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead without any doubts, then you know everything. So you don't need to, Krishna says, we don't need to read the Vedas, we don't need to know the Puranas, we don't need to do any chanting separately, just read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and we come to know everything, because the essence of the Vedas is Krishna, is to know Krishna. He therefore engages himself in devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So only when this essential knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is an individual, Krishna himself, and without any doubt, the mind is clear, then we are able to engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord, and then we know, we try to know the maximum possible, and we move towards our spiritual progress. So, Srila Prabhupada again explains in this purport that there is no place for speculation, and to get the highest knowledge, we need to be very careful not to do any speculation or not to approach any pseudo-gurus. In this sloka, the word bhajati is also very significant, which means renders devotional service. So one who is in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, has understood all Vedic knowledge, because when we are in spiritual Krishna consciousness, there is no place for speculation. We know completely well. We understand who is Krishna. We read through his pastimes, and only once we are convinced, we start doing devotional service. Can we go to the next sloka, the last sloka? Iti gukhyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanagha etad buddhiman syat krityascha bharata.
May I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you. Dandavat pranam. Iti guhyatamam shastra midamuktam maya nada etadabhudatva buddhiman mansya atkruta krityasya bharata. May I read translation, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So in this concluding sloka, Krishna is revealing a lot of points. We'll go through the word by word, because we have a few more minutes, half an hour. Iti, thus, gukhyatamam, the most confidential, shastram, revealed scripture, idam, this, uktam, disclosed, maya, by me, anagha, O sinless one, etad, this, buddhva, understanding, buddhiman, intelligent, syat, one becomes, kritak kritya, the most perfect in his endeavors, cha, and Bharata, O son of Bharata. So, does anybody want to read the purport? Since we have
Mataji, can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
A purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord clearly explains here that this is the substance of all revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging in his transcendental service, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Wherever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and the ignorance is called the darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. Enough, Mataji. Somebody else wants to read, or shall I continue?
Does anybody else want to read?
Yes, Mataji, may I?
Yeah, please read.
Everyone must take to the this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this position of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, however intelligent he may be in the estimation of some common man, he is not perfectly intelligent. The word anagha, by which Arjuna is addressed is significant. Anagha, O sinless one, means that useless one is free from all sinful reactions. It is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities. Then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in a devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. Hare Krishna Mataji, someone want to read last paragraph?
Does anybody
Or
want to
may I
read?
continue?
Yes,
Hare
Mataji,
Krishna.
Yeah. Who said first can read? I'm unable to see.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji, you want to read? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank
Okay.
you. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of heart, and the rest of the chapter from the 6th verse through the end discusses Purushottama Yoga. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purports to the 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So in this concluding sloka, Krishna reveals a lot of knowledge, which has been very beautifully explained by our Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Krishna says that this is the most confidential knowledge. Why is it the most confidential knowledge? Because if we call a person who is going on the road and tell him, see, though you've got hurt, please don't bother about it. You are not this body, you are the soul. Then he might not understand. So whatever is the confidential knowledge is, it's a known secret, but it's still a secret because it takes a lot of effort for us to understand first and then keep reiterating to ourselves that we are not this body, we are the soul. So we are so badly entwined in this world of Maya and illusion by Maya Devi that we need to constantly remind ourselves that we are a soul, not the body. So this most confidential knowledge that we are the soul and about within us there is the Paramatma, and we are very fragmental parts of the Paramatma, and this is not our eternal abode. We need to go back to our eternal abode. All these confidential knowledge is revealed in the scriptures, and engaging in the devotional service of the Lord is the only process of spiritual understanding, Krishna says. So where devotional service exists, material contamination cannot coexist. Means what? So devotional service is said to be non-different from the Lord. So Krishna comes in the form of devotional service, comes in the form of Archa Vigraha, and he is there within us also as Paramatma. So if I have to do this service today, of explaining the slokas, I need to be endowed by the mercy of the Lord to be able to do it. So if I think even from anywhere in my heart that I don't need to prepare for this, I don't need to be aware of these slokas, I don't need to read through Bhagavad Gita, then this minute, if Krishna thinks, then he can take away from me this voice or this ability to do this seva. Even the minutest of seva, acharyas say, we are able to do it as a service only because Krishna has endowed us with it. Because he is the knowledge, he is the remembrance, he is the forgetfulness, and he's also the digesting fire who helps us digest the food we eat from morning to night, whatever we are putting into the stomach through the mouth. He is the digestible fire who helps us to digest each and everything. So if we start seeing each and every component around us as Krishna, then we start understanding how great Krishna is and how very tiny our capacity and capability is in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here he again says, Lord is the sun and ignorance is darkness. So when Lord is present, then where is the question of darkness? So when we learn the knowledge or try to learn the knowledge and understand the knowledge which is explained in Bhagavad Gita, then we start getting the light from the Lord, and therefore darkness vanishes. So unless we understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service, however intelligent we may be, we cannot be perfect. So by being intelligent in this world, we all know that intelligence in this materialistic world in this 21st century is said to be, knowing the different levels of AI tools that have come up recently, to be software capable, to be well-versed in so many technological fields and different things. It can go on endlessly. But unless and until we know that Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna and we engage in the devotional service of the Lord, what is the actual Swarupa that we are supposed to remember us as? Jivena Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. So unless and until we understand that we are only a soul and we are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we always are a servant of the servant of the Lord, we will not be, we cannot call ourselves to be of having any knowledge. One more word here that is explained is anagha. Anagha is very significant because it means sinless one. Here Arjuna is addressed as being anagha. So Krishna is addressing Arjuna as anagha and trying to tell us that this knowledge, great knowledge, the secret, the confidential part of the Vedic scriptures has been addressed to Arjuna because he is sinless. He is a liberated soul. And similarly, unless and until one is free from all sinful reactions, it's very difficult to understand Krishna. So we may say that we know Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He controls everything in this world and so many things about Krishna. But Krishna reveals himself to each one of us according to our spiritual practices and sadhana. So, and there are so many characteristics and, unlimited explanation about Krishna. So we cannot, by our limitful capabilities, say that, Krishna is like this, Krishna is like that. Each and every activity that we do, we are made capable to do the same only by Krishna's mercy. So one has to become free from all the contamination and all the sinful activities, then he can understand Krishna. So how do we do this? We can do this by doing devotional service, because devotional service is very pure and potent. So when we are sitting to do devotional service in the form of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, and all this, we are forgetting ourselves to be the body. So all the contamination and the sinful activities that are roaming around in our minds goes away. And when we are doing devotional service, we are dedicating ourselves as a body and soul to Krishna, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are imagining ourselves to be a servant of the Lord, and we are aiming to attain the lotus feet of the Lord, and so then our activities become very pure. So there is no tinge of material contamination in it. So to say, we do not see greed, we do not see selfishness, or we do not compare ourselves with others when we are doing devotional service. We see all of us to be united and as one family when we are doing devotional service in Krishna consciousness. So when this is done, then once one is engaged in this devotional service, we automatically come to the stage of sinlessness. So, and also along with the devotional service, we come into association of pure devotees, our senior Vaishnavas, the Acharyas, and everyone in the disciplinic succession. And we hear to the lectures of Srila Prabhupada and his spiritual masters, which gives up the weakness of our heart and completely purifies us. Okay, and in this sloka, it is also explained that while one is in the devotional service in association of pure devotees, then there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. So the first thing, the most important is considered to be, one has to surmount weakness of the heart. So we should consider ourselves to be very strong, and we should not give in to the small and tiny insignificant pleasures of this material world. So what I understand out of this is like, though we are in Krishna consciousness, hearing to lectures and in the association of pure devotees, we are in a short duration of time, we are into Krishna consciousness through the WhatsApp groups, and when we go to the temple and we engage ourselves in any devotional service, in activities like Ratha Yatra and all this. But the maximum portion of the time, we are in this material world, surrounded by people who may not be in Krishna consciousness. So, though we are given an instruction not to eat onion or garlic and not to watch movies and all these things, as the 4 regulative principles are prescribed, unless and until we have a strong heart, we might not abide by these. And is there anybody who is going to have a checklist on us or going to tell us repeatedly that, today this has been done by you, this has not been done by you? No. So we have to have a strong heart and keep a check on ourselves to understand whether, whether you're going to say a yes or a no to a person who is asking you out for a movie, or asking you out for dinner in a restaurant which does not serve sattvic food. So that is the first step. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. So if we consider the pleasures of self-gratification and the other pleasures in this material world to be above the pleasure which we get from spirituality and the ecstasy we get by chanting the Lord's name in spirituality, and doing the loving service of the Supreme Lord, then we start to fall down. The second weakness of the heart is that one increases the propensity to lord it over nature. So once we get into the habit of, saying a yes and going out for a movie or eating some food outside of what is prescribed as sattvic, then our propensity increases to do the same mistakes again and again, because we feel it's okay and nobody is going to find out. So then what happens is, as a result, we become attached to the matter and the possession of the matter. So once we go out, we think that only once, and then secondly, the propensity increases. Then thirdly, we start getting attached to doing the same thing again and again. So the problems of material existence are due to this weaknesses of the heart. And this may not be related only to the 4 regulative principles. It can be anything, like having more attachment to our family and extended family, our kids and all that. Once we start attaching ourselves to the material world more than it is required, I'm not saying that we should not be attached to the family, but we should be drawing a line as to not being over attached to our kids and over attached to our family, extended family, or anybody who is sick, by which that might affect our spiritual sadhana. So if I am going on getting worried about my child and the child's exam, and he is not prepared, or how is he going to do his exams, will he be able to do it, then I see myself more involved into that rather than having faith on Krishna. So once we are in Krishna consciousness, we had to raise our level to an extent wherein Krishna says that our weakness of heart slowly reduces, and we understand that Supreme Personality of Godhead is always there. And when we are doing the sadhana, indirectly we are chanting for our extended family, whoever is sick, and our kids who would do well in the exam. So when a thought comes into our mind that, how will my child perform when he has an exam, we can always tell him or her that please chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra thrice before you go into the examination hall, or be confident, write the answers which you know first, and things like that, which cools him or her down, as well as we can also within our mind pray for him or her silently, and then leave it to Krishna, saying, Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, please take care of me. So that bhava of surrender starts coming into us slowly. So our faith increases, and it's very beautiful how Krishna responds to us, even to a very mild or starting devotee like mine. I have so many of my personal experiences wherein I have seen the hand of Krishna. Without Krishna's hand, definitely the result could not be positive or as expected. So that is the thing. And in the problems of material existence are due to the weakness of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these material weaknesses. So if you see the first 5 verses, it explains the analogy of the inverted tree is given, wherein the actual roots of the tree are the Vedas, which are on top now because the tree is upside down, and the materialistic nature or the bondages that we have brought into our own existence, thinking ourselves to be the body, not the soul, are deep below. So there are roots on both sides, Prabhupada explains, and Krishna says. So the actual roots are above in the form of the Vedas, and the essence of Vedas is given in the crux of the Bhagavad Gita, which we need to understand. But instead, because we are conditioned souls, and we are extending ourselves deep within with the branches, searching for different pseudo gurus and trying to learn knowledge from different people, when the crux of all knowledge and the Vedas is given in the Bhagavad Gita. So in order to approach which, we need to be away from the bondages of material nature. And in the second, third and the fourth sloka explains the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with the determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with a weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. So 2 things are required here. One is, we need determination to say no where you need to say no, and yes, and to go ahead with our spiritual practices. Second, we need to establish the weapon of detachment. That means be attached, but where it is required, detach yourself from that material aspect of life. Though all of us are in a family and in a setup where we need to do so many things throughout the day, being in this material world, we need to always remind ourselves every now and then that I am a spirit soul, and these things are like passing clouds, or like the different seasons of monsoons, like Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. And if there is a sadness that has come on, it will go away and I will be able to see happiness. So I should neither revel in the happiness that is there at the moment, or cry and waste my time and energy here being in this material world, because I am the spiritual soul and I need to get back to Godhead. Okay, then in the 6th and the 6th to 20th sloka, the Krishna explains to Arjuna about Purushottama Yoga. So we need determination and detachment in order to understand the nature of the soul, and use this weapon of detachment to cut through the roots of material nature and bonds. This is explained in the 3rd and 4th sloka. So I think it's clear till now, till here. So I would like to conclude by quoting a few verses in the Kevalashtakam, where it says, Madhuram Madhurebhyopi Madhuram Madhurebhyopi. One second. Madhuram Madhurebhyopi. It says that Mangalebhyopi Mangalam. Thank you, Mataji. Pavanam Pavanebhyopi Hare Namaiva Kevalam. Vishwasenad Vishwaso Sarvam Mayamayam Jagat. Satyam Satyam Punah Satyam Hare Namaiva Kevalam. Hare Namaiva Kevalam. There's a beautiful kirtan in which the acharyas explain to us that the only thing that is true, the only thing that is pure, the only thing that is mangal, that is always auspicious, is the taking the name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And whether you believe it or not, Satyam, Satyam, Punah Satyam, Hare Namaiva Kevalam. So this, for this Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma mentioned is chanting and glorifying the holy name of the Lord, which we can do through the devotional services of the Lord and get back to Godhead. I would like to complete this session by saying Vaishnava Pranam. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you very much.
Can you tell
for
me
your
that
patient
shloka, that song, Mataji? What is that song name? Madurai?
It is called Kevalashtakam, Mataji. It's called
Kevalashtakam.
Kevalashtakam.
Okay.
Can you put it in the group, Mataji? If you can type in the group.
Yes, Mataji. I'll put it in the group. It is.
Yeah,
It
thank
says
you.
that, neither your father, nor your mother, nor your children, nor your friend, nobody is actually existent, isn't it? We keep changing clothes and we keep changing bodies over our births. So how many ever clothes we would have, bodies would have changed, just like we change clothes. So it is necessary that it is said that there are innumerable births we take to get this human birth. And once we have got this human birth, we have to understand the importance of this human birth and always dedicate it to the service of the Lord, having no contamination within us, and without pride and without greed or any of this materialistic activities, in order to attain the Hare Krishna. I have explained these shlokas only with my limited capabilities, so if I have made any mistakes, please kindly forgive me for the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice class, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice class.
Thank you so much.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Mataji.
all glories to the
Mataji.
Mataji.
Beautiful
Thank you,
class,
Mataji. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Session, Mataji, with your permission.
Hare Krishna,
Mataji, don't forget the
Hare Krishna,
Kevalashtakam.
Mataji. Pranam.
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
surely I'll post it, Mataji. I'll post it.
Yeah,
in the group.
Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you,
Mataji, with your
Mataji.
permission, can I end the session, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please. I was just about to tell that. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
Mataji. Thank you. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you, Bhuna Mataji.